whatever that looks like to you. So, like we were just talking to Debbie about, if just sitting is uncomfortable or you can feel it in your thighs or your hips or something, then elevate your hips a little bit. So, using like a sturdy blanket, a pillow, something like that to lift your hips up, and then your thighs, your knees will relax down a little bit more naturally. It's a similar thing, by the way, with your wrists. If you have really tight wrists, um, whenever we're doing like cat and cow, tabletop, mostly those, anything that we're on our hands and knees, if you put like roll a blanket or even roll your yoga mat, which is a really simple thing to do because it's right there, and elevate your heel of your hand a little bit more so that then your fingers go down and you can just see that there's a different angle in your wrist. If you tend to have tight wrists, or we've been doing it a long time and you're like, oh man, this is starting to feel tight on my wrist, just elevate the wrist a little bit and then the fingers go down. So those are a couple things to share with you here. So we are going to be working on ankles, and really like working on thinking about focusing on ankles and inner thighs, because a lot of times those two are connected. I have a friend that was asking about like weak and wobbly ankles whenever she's doing yoga. So we're going to focus on that, work on that, again, inner thigh. But the other thing that I want to say is that there is a reason why your sticky mat is sticky. And it's so that whenever you're standing, doing certain poses, but particularly standing, like imagine warrior or lunge or something, that your feet don't splay out. And then it makes it harder for your legs to hold that together if your feet are sliding, right? That's why we do it on a mat, but particularly on a sticky mat. So check that out. If you've been doing yoga a long time, you have a mat that's like not sticky anymore and your feet slide around, there is a way that we can talk about it later, that you can, wash your mat and get it sticky again, or maybe it's time for a new mat. So those are just a couple things to think about as we move into this practice. All right. So taking away wherever you were before and just coming right to this place. This is where you get to be right now, right here. You don't have to be anywhere else. And this is you giving yourself permission and me mandating that you just get to be present right in this space right here. And if it feels comfortable to you, you can close your eyes. You don't need to look at me right now. You can look down to the ground or at something else. And the reason we do that is just so that you are, just recognizing that there's no distractions. Closing the eyes allows you to go inward a little bit and just kind of scan the body and start to feel your breath moving gently in and down through the throat, the lungs, the belly. When the exhale is ready, the exhale will move out through the belly, the throat, lungs. And while you continue to scan the body, just check in. Are you holding any tension in a place that you don't need to hold tension? Which at this pose, at this moment, you should be letting all tension go. So check in with your jaw, maybe making the back of the tongue wide, even unclenching the teeth a little bit. Check in around your eyes. Are you squeezing your eyes tightly shut, or are you allowing the top eyelid to just rest gently on the bottom eyelid? Check in with your shoulders, that your shoulders are relaxed, moving away from the ears. And with all that kind of relaxation from the top, now engage the belly just a little bit so it pulls in towards the spine. They kind of meet in the middle, and the bottoms of the ribs pick up off the hips. So we're getting super long and straight and strong through the center. Releasing again the hips, the knees, checking in that your toes aren't crunched, squeezing tight. Check in with the position of your ankles, making sure they're comfortable. Once again, here we are. Just noticing the quality of your breath as it moves in and just fills your body with new energy, new life. The exhale allows you to let go of things that don't serve you. You don't have to think about those things, put a name to them, put any energy to them, just knowing that whatever doesn't serve you is going away with the exhale. And in this calm, centered place, know that you can always come back to this at any point during the day, no matter how crazy and hectic and chaotic it can get. You can let your top eyelid meet your bottom eyelid, even if it's just taking one long inhale, 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 and letting it all go with exhale, 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 coming right back to this place. On an inhale, swoop your hands out to the side and up to the sky, bringing them together and down to heart center. Taking a moment to bow to your hands and honor yourself during this practice. I love how Debbie began by saying, when I feel pain or when I feel something, how do I know it's like good and helping me, or how do I know that it's painful and I should stop? So that's what we'll think about and we'll focus on. It's just listening to your body. More and more that you get to listen to it and deepen into each little nook and cranny in the body, the more you'll get to realize when you've met your limit, when you need to back up, or even when you're like, today I'm going beyond my limit. But take care of yourself during this practice. Do what feels good, what feels right, because you all are on your own mat, on your own journey. Everybody looks and feels totally different in every pose, and just know that. Just continue to go into yourself and into your practice. And releasing the arms, stretching back up to the sky, giving thanks for this new day, bringing the hands down right into Baddha Konasana, where the bottoms of the feet come together. Awesome. And so check in with this. You can pull the legs in towards you, further away, cobbler pose or butterfly, right? And just for a moment, we're going to inhale, pull the inner thighs in to bring the knees up. So again, Carrie, I know you joined just a minute ago. Great to see you. Happy you're here. We're focusing on ankles today, ankles and the connection of them and inner thighs. So as you inhale the knees up, think more that it's not about pulling the knees up, right? But you're engaging the inner thighs, pulling them in. That's the psoas. That's the part, Debbie, too, that you were talking about that gets tight. So when you exhale, it's about trying to let that go, open that up. You can still be up on a pillow or elevated. Your hips can be elevated at this point, too, if that feels better. And checking in with your shoulders as you're doing that. Are you squeezing the shoulders up? Because we don't want that. We want the shoulders to be chilling, the jaw to be chilling. Sweet. One more time. Engaging the inner thighs. That's what helps to pull that up. And then fully release and let go. And any amount that you can bring your hands in front of your feet once you get there, and you can walk forward. Maybe it's like an inch. Maybe you can touch your nose to the ground. Just opening up those inner thighs and really thinking of this kind of like flower motion of the thighs, the tops of the thighs here opening up. Elongate the lower back. Awesome. And let's tuck the shoulders, kind of tucking them and bring them down the back. So that's helping us to not just kind of fall forward here. Awesome. Now tuck the chin and roll back up. Grabbing onto the knees, gently pulling them up. Sweet. We're going to stretch them out right in front of us. So you can bring the hands back behind you, straightening the legs, lowering them down. Just coming here, getting ready for a little Paschimottanasana, So that's pressing the feet away, right? So we're pressing the heels of the feet away, like right under the toes, even kind of the toes, and start to pull the arches in, which feels kind of weird when you're just sitting. But if you can kind of pull the arches in, the inner thighs come in and meet you right in the hip. Just hanging out there for a moment. Belly pulls into spine, spine into belly, bottoms of the ribs up off the hips. Awesome. Arms at your ears. Elongate here, and on exhale, leaning forward any amount, but the belly comes first, and then the chest, and then the chin. Wherever your hands meet, they're going to press to the ground and inhale right back up. Recognizing as you keep moving through this nice and slowly and through your breath, it's not about getting to the place, right? You're not like, oh, look how far I got. It's actually, it meaning yoga and probably life, is about how you're moving towards the places that you're aiming for. So yeah, you might get there and that's great, but how are you moving out of it? Are you moving there with breath, with consciousness, with awareness, with gentleness? And one more time with the movement before we release over the legs. And then bring your hands wherever they need to. Again, maybe the nose can touch the knees. Maybe it can and you don't want to today, and it's just about how long you can be. Here's a little moment to check in with pressing the feet away like you're standing on the wall across from you, and you're engaging the inner thighs, right? So we're working on that already, even though we're not standing. We're going to be working on that when we stand. Just allowing yourself to be here for a moment. And once again, this is your moment where we are stopping. We're holding the breath, but not, no, wait, we're holding the pose, but definitely not the breath. I mean, you can hold your breath in certain places, but we're not going to do that here. We're going to keep on breathing. So when you get to be in a pose and kind of stay with it, really check, you can go from the head down, right? Scan the body, making sure it feels comfortable, checking in with it. And especially when you're in a pose that you're particular about your alignment and your alignment is correct, and you bring your breath to your body and to that place, that's when your body it informs your muscles that, hey, this is where I want to be. This is how I want to hold myself. You can be like watching TV all the time doing this and that becomes comfortable. And then you do this and you're like, that's uncomfortable. But when you bring breath to that place, your body's like, oh, this is where I want to be. And this is what's comfortable. All right, arms by the ears. Inhale back up and release at your sides. Shake it out any amount. Yeah, it is hard to not be in person with you, because when I see you like shake a certain way, I'm like, oh, we need to work that shoulder on that person and that neck on this person, but we are doing the best that we can. All right, we are going to go into wide-legged sitting. I don't know the name of it. That's okay. Wide-legged sitting, like you're trying to do a split, but you're not going that far. It's one of my favorite poses. Also working on the inner thighs, pressing the feet away. Also, when you press the feet away, you're engaging the quads. And when you engage the quads, that helps to open up the hamstrings, which opens up the back of the hip. And there you go. All right, so this one is my bow and arrow. I know Paul has been enjoying this one too. So this one, what I'm doing is I'm pulling that arrow back. I'm bringing my right hand out, my left arm goes up, and I'm shooting that arrow from the right hand over towards my left foot. And then I'm going to bring it back. I'm going to do that a couple times. So whenever you're ready, we're going to inhale. I love this one. It's like, woo, shooting towards, what is it that you're shooting towards, something that you're aiming for today, and I'm moving with my breath. So my inhale is that strong pulling back, and then release and exhale. Aiming towards a goal that you have for today, for your life, for your mindset, for your breakfast, I don't know, whatever. Inhale, pull it back. And this last time, we're going to exhale and release down over here. So there's a little bit of a twist happening. And again, you're trying to aim your hand for whatever. Maybe it reaches your knee. Maybe it reaches your calf. Maybe, woo, you can touch your foot, right? Whatever that looks at. But what are you doing is you're pressing the feet away, and the thighs are kind of opening up. So trying not to let that right leg drop in too much, right? Like folding forward. And we're going to rainbow it. Swoop that right arm up and back. Fingertips back behind you, or hands back behind you, fingertips facing towards your hips. And inhale here, squeezing the shoulder blades together and heart center open. Sending out love, to something you want to send it out to. And release, coming back to center. Awesome. The other way. Yeah, I see you shaking out your wrist. Feel free to shake out your wrist. Oh, good. Right. Aiming the other direction. So that's I have a tight space here. Anyway, so that left arm is coming back. That's my bow and arrow shooting out over towards my right foot. And just keep that motion going. Inhale in. And again, it's not about like, where do I land when that arrow gets released and comes down towards the foot? It's how are you moving in between? Are you using your breath? Are the inner thighs working as the feet press away? Where is your breath moving to? And 2 more times. And this last time we'll hold it. And I'm moving a little bit faster. You guys can take it however slowly you want. I know for some of you it's 7 in the morning. So you guys are rock stars. For me, I've been, up and moving for hours. All right, so here we are, releasing in this place. Once again, kind of checking in. Y'all are staying in the pose. I'm just moving out of it a little bit. I'm warming up. All right. So it's about bringing the breath to the pose, scanning the body, opening up the inner thighs, pressing the feet away, releasing the shoulders, the jaw. Awesome. And a rainbow, that left arm, swoop it up and back down. Coming back to center here. Nice. Hands back behind you, fingertips pointing towards the spine, and shoulder blades come together and down the back. Heart center open, release the jaw, keeping the back of the neck long. So anytime you do heart openers, you shouldn't drop your head back behind you. That's just going to crunch that cervical spine. Nope. Awesome. And gently release. Hands underneath the knees if you can get them there. And so we can slowly pull the knees back up and in. Nice. We are going to get into hands and knees, right, into tabletop. But if you want, and if this feels comfortable to you, another way to work the ankles is to go into a squat position. Again, if this is your jam, sweet. If you're like, my feet could never do that, that's okay. Sometimes for yoga classes, especially kids yoga classes, I have them walk on their feet, which is how many people harvest rice. Anyway, so this is a good one for working the ankles. If this, again, feels comfortable to you now or not, I think it's just really funny to walk like this. I encourage you at some point today to walk like this around your house and just let people laugh. Be like, dude, I'm working my ankles. Come on. All right. If this also feels comfortable to you, another part of a squat pose is pressing your elbows into your inner knees, I guess, in your inner knees. And hands come together in prayer position. And again, I'm flat foot, like that works for me. I have flexible ankles. For some people, they are not. They're up on their toes. That's cool. Maybe you're rocking back and forth. Maybe you're like, this is not for me. So I'm going to get into child's pose or tabletop. Any of those work. But if you're in this, sweet. That is a good ankle workout. Pressing down through the big toe to the pinky toe and the heel. Awesome. Debbie, are you talking to me? You're muted. Try again.
Are you bringing your elbows into your knees or your knees into your elbows, or just are they there?
You can do either. Yes, they're there, but there's a little bit of both. And if you want to, great question. If you want to work the inner thighs a little bit more, like we're kind of focusing on, then you do both. You press the elbows out and you pull the knees in. So there's like kind of track back and forth. I love it. But as like just a kind of chill pose, you're just kind of hanging out. But yeah, great question. Love it. Sweet, everybody can do it. It's a hard pose to do. All right, we're moving into cat and cow, so into tabletop. So swooping around, however you need to get there. And just checking in with how this pose is best done, right? So my yoga teacher training was with a teacher trained in Iyengar, and her nickname was the Queen of Alignment. So that's where I get all my like really particular about alignment. I want people to be safe. Okay, hands right underneath the shoulders, spreading the fingers nice and wide, pressing down through each fingertip And the knee should be right underneath your hips. Best for your neck is to look down between your hands and just a couple cat and cow here. So the back goes up to the sky. That's our inhale. And the exhale, the belly drops down and the head aims towards the tailbone. Keep on moving with your breath and just kind of checking in that you're trying to move every vertebrae and like open up the spaces between each vertebrae. That's kind of how I think, especially of cats. It's just expanding so you can get a little bit taller. You know, if you're a little bit taller, you can see a little bit more things. I don't know, just joking. Just imagining being like really tall and being like, I can see more things. All right, back to flat back. Here we are, tabletop. And for here, working that inner thigh again, I'm going to take my right leg and stretch it out, but just keeping it even with the hips. So if you feel comfortable to reach back behind you, you want to see if your hips are flat, so you're not popping one up or the other, and just pressing out through the heel of the foot. And you're extending that psoas. So that's kind of the part you were talking about, Debbie, that like inner thigh, like the inner hip, the front of the hip, the top of the hip. I don't even know how to describe it. It's like from the belly button and down, and then it goes across that front of the hip. So pressing through the heel. If you want to do balance pose, you can pick the opposite arm up. So my right leg is up, my left arm is up, finding some breath. As you're starting to balance, maybe even shake your arm a little bit because you're feeling the balance happening. Sweet. Drop your left hand, drop your right knee, and inhale the back up to the sky for the transition, a little cat and cow. Coming back to flat back. And by flat back, that means, you know, really kind of engaging the belly and pulling it in. But when I say engage the belly, I don't mean tighten it so that your breath can't go there. But just even imagine the belly button is pulling up, drawing up towards the spine. All right, left leg goes out. So press the heel away. The hips should be flat on the back here, keeping it nice and even. And if you want to stay here, fantastic. If you want to stretch yourself a little bit and find balance, you would bring the right arm up and out. I see some people going forward with it, some to the side, whatever works for you. And just checking in about that lower back, engaging the inner thigh, making sure the knee is pointing down. Find your breath and gently bring the right hand down, the left knee down, back up to the sky, and lower the belly down. We're going to do one more thing here in tabletop. So if you need to shake out your wrists, go ahead and shake them out. Something else that I want to tell you is whenever your hands are down, your elbows, like inside of your elbows should be pointing towards each other so that if you bend your elbows, they should go out to the side. I say that because a lot of people love to twist the eyes of the elbows like forward, like they'd be facing the front of the mat. And that is just all wacky in the shoulder, right? So if that makes sense, if I were to bend my elbows right now, they should go out to the side. Yeah, there you go. Do some push-ups. Is that Audrey there, I think, doing some push-ups? Maybe it's Stella. I can't tell. Hi. You're looking great. Hi. Great to see you. Okay. Okay, we're going to do fire hydrant. This one's really fun. You can figure out why it's called fire hydrant. So the right leg, I'm pulling the right leg up. Wish you can see that. There we go. So it's coming up right across from my hip, and my hands are pressed down again. You can hold it here. You can straighten that right leg. And this one's a good one for that, the outside of the right glute. But you're also opening up that inner thigh. And let's just pulse it once. So gently exhale, lower the knee down. And just once, inhale, bring it up, squeezing the glutes to move it. So again, you're not trying to move the knee, you're just trying to move the glutes. Awesome. Drop it down. You'll feel that one in the morning. All right, back up to the sky. Cat and cow. You can feel free to meow and moo if you want to. It's up to you. Back flat again. And now we're going to the other side. That left leg comes up and the left knee is trying to aim to be right across from the hip. You can go higher if you want, but it's really just about going right across from the hip. Ooh, how you feeling? Yeah, that's a good one. Find your strength. And sweet, lower down, cat and cow. Awesome. Right into downward facing dog. Hands down, toes down, and the hips kind of go up, and then the thighs, the top of the thigh bone, goes back towards the back wall. So have fun in this. If you want to go down into child's pose for a couple breaths, feel free. This is a good time for that. You can move one knee, stretch the other. The main thing is, though, is that you're pressing down through your fingertips and your head is down, shaking it yes and no. You stay in downward dog. I am just here so I can look at you because I know sometimes it can be hard to hear when I'm upside down. So do more of what I say than what I'm doing here. Awesome. If this one's really hard for your hands, wrists, you got some wrist stuff going on, you can go into dolphin, which is going on the top part of your arm, so elbow to wrist, and like interlacing your hands and kind of going down on that way. That's another option for this. But we are going to just move through one little kind of sun salutation from here, come up to standing and do our standing poses. So from here, let's move into plank. That's shoulders right above the wrists. And giving love to the earth as you gently lower down, heart center touching the earth for a moment, hovering even, and then here we are in our open-hearted back bend, keeping a long back. Awesome. Nice, looking great. And moving back into down dog, however you want to get there, through the knees or just popping the hips up. If you want to have fun today and you feel comfortable, jump the feet to the hands in Uttanasana or forward fold. We're going to hang out here for a moment. So you stay in Uttanasana. I'm just going to talk you through it. So keep a little bend in the knees, especially if you hyperextend. Good. Your head should be comfortable. So try to release it wherever it is. You can bend the knees deeper if you're like, man, this is hurting my lower back. Yeah, I love it. So Uttanasana is, ut means powerful and deliberate, and tan means extend or lengthen. So the goal, right, is to have this deliberate lengthening, but it's not about touching your nose to your knees or your toes, right? It's just about like kind of feeling yourself letting go into it. But then it's also about how you move between it. So once we get to standing, really think about how you're moving from this, which is a lot happening, you know, all this blood going to your head, and moving up. And it's less about kind of where you end up, more about how you move through it. In other words, enjoy the journey. All right, so here we go. Let's bring our hand out to the side and inhale slowly, consciously coming up to standing. Arms keep floating up to the sky, hands to heart center. Just be here. Slowly feeling the blood moving down, trickling down, back down to your toes. Finding the power and the strength that you have in being you, in who you are, this space you're inhabiting. Honoring yourself and your practice again. Releasing your hands at your sides. Once again, checking in with ankles and thighs and all that good stuff. So let's make sure we're standing right, okay? I mean, it's like, I stand all the time, I stand right, but are we? Okay, so we're pressing the toes down and the heels down, okay? And then pull the arches up. When you pull the arches up, you should kind of feel that in your inner thighs. You feeling that? That's psoas, is like pulling up. Right? And then the tailbone descends down. Awesome. The bottoms of the ribs are pulling up off the hips. Finding that balance, the descending, the lengthening, the shoulders dropping away from the ears. But there's a string in the center of the crown of your head pulling you up. The feet should be, I should have started with this, but that's okay, you don't have to do that. But they should pretty much be like right underneath the hips or a little bit wider. And this is how you should be when you're washing dishes, standing to talk to a friend. So just notice how it's feeling to be balanced on both feet. Toes should be pointing pretty much forward. I know you're like, Okay, I didn't come to a yoga class to just stand, but this is like the foundational pose, right? Where again, if you can recognize how you're standing and holding yourself, then that can tell you a lot of times why you're holding tension or why you have, your back is hurting or your shoulder is hurting or something, right? Yeah, there's a lot to this little pose. Awesome. We're going to go into chair. Chair was a pose I like despised for a long time until I realized it's my inner thighs that has to do the work. So I'll show you first if you're not privy to chair pose. So it's basically sitting down like you're in a chair, okay? And the knees should be a little bit kind of back so that they're not too far forward, so you're not putting too much pressure on the knees. And it's really kind of that simple. Now, some people can go the whole way down like they're really in a chair. Some people move an inch or two. But what we're working on with this is pulling the inner thighs in, and you're pulling them into your psoas. Again, toes down, heels down, those arches up, which, is working the outside of your calves. And, it's that simple. And then we're going to stand up and Uttanasana forward fold into it. So again, moving into chair pose, the feet hip width apart. And by hip, I mean your hip bones, because we all have different size, flesh on the outside. So you might be like, oh, but my hips are this big, right? But it's really like where are the bones of your hips. So it should be right kind of below that. And then sitting back, the knees trying to move, track back a little bit so that you could kind of see your toes. Full pose is twisting the arms out and up, but that just adds an extra element. If you want to go there, you can. I like to actually keep mine here on my hips. Inner thighs pulling in, really engaging that. I know, ooh, it's hard. And then we're going to stand up straight, Tadasana, and then exhale, Uttanasana, forward fold. Release here for a moment. And then kind of dragging your hands on the outside of your legs, tuck your chin, and inhale, coming back up to standing. Return to that presence throughout the whole body. Are you grounded? Are you lengthening? It's all connected. Inhale the arms out and up. And then exhale, sitting down into chair here. If you want, you can drop the hands back down onto your hips or they can stay up. But inner thighs pulling in, toes down. Feels like you want to rock back on your heels. I know. Try to engage the toes. Yeah, people looking good. All right, inhale, standing. I know it's a hard one, right? Exhale, Uttanasana, forward. Grab onto your elbows if that feels comfortable to you. That allows your head to just hang a little bit more. Awesome. And then inhale, coming right back up. Swoop the arms out to the side, up to the sky. Hands to heart center. Sweet. Release your hands at your sides. We're going to go into a lunge pose here. So both feet in the front of the mat. We're going to bring that right foot back, keeping it hip distance apart the best that you can. High lunge is bending the left knee right over the ankle. Okay. But again, this is where a sticky mat comes in handy. So you should be on your sticky mat or have sticky socks on, standing in like spilled Kool-Aid or something so that your feet are nice and strong and stable. Because if you're starting to rock and slide back and forth, that's what's going to hurt knees, make your ankles feel wobbly. Toes down, heels down, in, pull the arches up, especially that left leg, inner thigh pulling in, tucking the tailbone just a little bit, extending the right leg out towards the right heel. You're just on the toes of the back foot. You can stay here. You can bring the arms up for increase of energy, but find your breath. Focus on something across from you and imagine that again is something you're aiming for today. Maybe it's peace. Maybe it's a goal of something you need to get done. Aim the heart center out to that, pulling energy up from the earth, extending out through the fingertips, and meeting in down dog. Both hands down around that left foot back to the right. And maybe moving in down dog or holding it. Maybe you need to drop into child's pose. That is your choice. We'll meet in standing. So again, child's pose, however you want to get there. I'm going to move through into plank. And lowering down, chaturanga. That's just what I'm doing. You can follow if you wish. And heart opener. A little bit of a back bend here. Moving back into down dog. Feet walk or jump to the hands. This Uttanasana, forward fold. And it's about how you move out of it, pressing the toes down, the heels down, and swooping the arms out to the side and up to the sky. Hands to heart center. Taking a moment to honor your practice, honor where you are. Sweet. Release your hands and lunge on the other side. I think that the right foot is in front now, then the left leg goes back. So just checking in, hang out, figure it out, see what feels comfortable to you. Maybe the legs need to go wider. Sometimes when you feel wobbly and it doesn't feel right, it's because your legs are too close together actually. So it's like hard to bend your knee at all because you're upright too much. But if that's comfortable, stay. Right. But for some people, you might like, let me, wiggle this leg back a little bit. Just kind of play with it. Feel comfortable. If you feel wobbly, go by, a bed or a wall or something. It's totally okay. And once you're there, you're pressing the toe down, the heel down, and pulling up. Inner thighs are pulling in.
Heidi, is your back foot flat or are you on your toes?
Great question. I saw you coming to ask a question. I'm on my toes. So
Okay.
You can be flat, and that's more like warrior one, but that for you, definitely be on your toes because, hip stuff. So yeah, stay on your toe. That's going to be more comfortable for the hip. Good question. Full pose, arms up and out. Stay with your hands on your hips if that feels more comfortable to you, but deepen into the inner thighs, the groin, that psoas, pulling in, pulling energy up from the earth. There's so much energy going on underneath there. Think about the core churning all that heat. Just pull that up. That helps you to not think about how hard this is. Yeah, fingertips up to the sky, moving into down dog. Both hands around that right foot back to meet the left. Release here, hang out here. We're gonna meet in child's pose. So I'm just sitting so I can talk to you, but you can stay in down dog for a couple more breaths. You can do one-legged dog, three-legged dog, whatever. But we're gonna meet, if you wanna go into plank and do a couple things, we got about 3 or 5 breaths that you do what you need. And then we'll meet in child's pose. And the thing with child's pose is making sure that your head touches something, right? So one option is to spread your knees a little bit wider, so maybe your head can release down to the ground a little bit easier. Or you can stack your hands, or this is where, we have like yoga blocks or again, pillows or something. You stack something or whatever, and that's what you rest your head on. Awesome. Child's pose, Sphinx. I see somebody in. You know how to modify if you want to. And this is, we're going to transition into back to the ground. This is our transition to kind of recognize, take this moment to bring the energy down a little bit from the standing poses. There's ways to like keep the energy up with this. You can stretch the arms forward and kind of walk the fingers forward and then engage the shoulders and pull them back. That's just like, hey, I want to, I'm cool to chill in child's pose, but I want to keep the energy up. So that's an option. If I were in class and touching was cool, I like to like press on your lower back to like elongate your spine a little bit. So even just imagining that there's like kind of this extra weight on the lower back. And when I say that, that means my children tend to jump on my lower back, but I'm not saying that to all children that are doing this because I got to do it gently and slowly. And it's about no pain, right? Yoga should not. Awesome. One more breath here. And we're going to move into Virasana, which is hero pose. If that's comfortable to you, sweet. That is staying on your shins and your hips towards your heels. Okay, so if that's comfortable to you, awesome. If it like kind of seems comfortable, but again, you feel like you need your hips raised, this is where you can put a pillow, blocks, or something underneath your hips. So that's raised. But if all of that feels like, yeah, that's not cool for my knees or my hips, then you can just go back into sitting. But if it's comfortable to you, hanging out in Virasana for a moment is another one that actually works the ankles very well. We even were, another way to do it, I was looking for something that I could roll under, but you could roll something like a hand towel, like not a big towel, right? But something small. You put that under the top of your ankles, which is just another way to kind of loosen the ankles if your ankles are really tight. It's just another way to kind of work that. All right. So from Virasana, we're going to do a little twist. So what that's going to look like is I'm going to take my left hip and drop it down to my left side. So now my feet are out to the side. Feeling like I need like colorful clothing so that you can see, because I feel like I'm all just one big like dark mass. Anyway, note to self. Okay, so here you are. This is great. Let's pick that right leg up so the right knee comes up to the sky. Right? So we drop the left hip to the side, the right knee up to the sky. You can stay here. This is an option to twist towards that right leg. If you're ready to go a little bit further, we can take the right leg over the left knee, over the left thigh. But the thing I want to tell you about that is watch your right foot. People love to take that right foot and hook it back towards the knee, but it should be coming right out from just like you were standing, right? So it should come out from your knee the way that your toes should point, if that makes sense. So again, not tucking that knee back. And with that, we're taking that left elbow, trying to wrap it towards that right knee. Lots going on here. Great. The right hand back behind you to support the spine. And what I feel like I have to do is I kind of have to like pick up and move around. And I'm taking the back of the right ribs, wrapping them around the back. The front of the left ribs wrapping forward. The shoulders trying to release down. The chin parallel to the ground. Why is that? That's so that the back of the neck is nice and long and not crunched. And if you can, look over the right shoulder, go for it. I'm not, because I'm looking at you, but if that feels comfortable to you, then that means your entire, cervical, thoracic, lumbar spine all twisted around. Again, checking in with the chin being parallel to the ground, not dip down too much. Looking over that right shoulder, pressing the right toes and ankle or heel into the ground. Awesome. Right hand up by the ear, exhale coming to center. Cool. Okay, I'm going to show you a really fun way to move out of this, and you could try it if you want. So I'm bringing my hands over to my left side. Okay, and I'm just going to keep my feet like where they are, and if I just go in a circle, look, I made it to the other side. Does that make any sense? Isn't that kind of fun? And if it makes no sense, then just go back through it the other way. So again, like my right leg started up, so my hands go to the left, and I just kind of move them in a circle. My toes stay exactly where they were, and then I'm pretty much on the other way. Was that really fun? Okay. If not, you can go back into Virasana and then drop the heel or the hips over to the right side, and then the left foot comes up. So again, the left foot can stay on the inside, or if you feel comfortable, it can go to the outside of the knee. Awesome. Checking in with those toes aren't hooking back towards the knee. And then the right arm is wrapping around towards that left knee. Full pose, bring that left hand back behind you, lengthening the spine, dropping the shoulders, checking in with your chin, the back of your neck. Finding your breath. I love twists, and I think twists are necessary to do every single day with intention, with breath, because they squeeze out stress and toxins, especially this one really helps with the kidneys, the liver. And that's just where we hold a lot of stress and tension, and also things that are supposed to eliminate from the body, right? We hold it there. And so doing a twist is just helping move it through and move it out. So So breathe into all those organs that, they do their work. They're great. They're doing good things, but they can be helped out a little bit just with the breath. Left arm up by the ear. Exhale it, come back to center. Awesome. All right, and you're just moving out, moving away from that. We're gonna head to the ground here in a moment. Good, yeah. And I'm gonna start in bridge pose. So we're gonna try to keep the knees up and the feet down. And the knees and the hips and the ankles should all be in alignment, right? So whenever we get into this pose, we don't want the legs to be splayed out too much, right? So if you had a yoga block or imagine a brick, you'd be squeezing the inner thighs to help you with this pose, okay? So from here, hold on to the back of the legs and gently lower, lower, lower down the back to the ground. So again, you stay in the pose, but don't follow me because I know you can't hear me when I'm laying down. So bridge pose, check your head, your shoulders, your arms, everything should be just chilling and relaxed down on the ground, right alongside you. Good. Again, the knees are as wide as the hips are. And on an inhale, you're going to press down through the toes and the heels, and your bones of your hips are going to aim up to the sky. So on an inhale, the hips, you're rising the tops of your hips up. And I say that because it's not about squeezing the glutes, but when you hold it in, pull the inner thighs in and up. Right. So again, this is that stabilizing the ankle by working on the groin, the inner hips, the inner thighs. Sweet, gently exhale and lower down vertebrae by vertebrae by vertebrae, bringing the tailbone back to the ground. Awesome. Let's just do one more time of that. Whenever you're ready, you'll inhale and imagine again that the hips come up to the sky, like there's strings on your hips pulling you up. Release the glutes. So that's the butt, right? Just kind of let that wiggle, even though it's like, what? But that's holding it up. We're trying to let that go a little bit and use the inner thighs in this one. Toes down, heels down, arches pulling up. If you're really going for this, you can kind of tuck the shoulders underneath and, interlace the fingers under your back. That's just like an extension to this pose if you feel like doing that. We're just going to hold this one more breath. Awesome. On an exhale, vertebrae by vertebrae, lowering back. All right, one last thing before we move into our final pose. Let's bring the right ankle to the left knee, right? So you're still on the ground, right ankle to the left knee. And just for a moment, do a couple ankle circles with that right foot. And then grabbing onto the left thigh and gently pulling the left thigh towards your belly. Now with that left leg, you can keep it bent. You can kind of press away like we've been doing. You could straighten that left leg. And with that left foot now, we can do the ABCs. So writing out the ABCs with that left foot. And again, you're staying in the position and I'm just coming to check you guys out on the screen here. Awesome. So I love doing writing the ABCs. Sometimes it's block letters, sometimes it's capitals, sometimes it's cursive. But part of, again, that wobbly ankle thing that some of us were talking about can just be about we need to strengthen our ankles. It could also be that in the poses we're not thinking enough about inner thighs and kind of balancing it that way. It could just be that we need a better sticky mat. But if it is that our ankles are kind of wobbly, part of it is, are your shoes the right fit? Are you wearing heels that kind of hurt the ankle? Or do we just need to work the ankles a little bit more? That's why I like to write the ABCs, because that's just working all the different little muscles around the ankle. Or whatever other language you speak and write, like Mandarin or something. That looks really fun and kind of like calligraphy, right? All right, so there you are. Any amount more that you want to bring the left leg towards your belly, sweet. And then bring the left foot back down to the ground, the right foot back down to the ground. Rest here for a moment for the transition. And then bring the left ankle to the top of the right knee. And then just for a moment, well, I guess we kind of move that left foot, but we can just move it again a little bit here. And then grabbing onto the right thigh, pulling it in a little bit, and then however you want to move that right leg. So you can straighten it straight up to the sky or just keep it loosely bent. And once again, moving that right foot, writing out your name 7 times or something, or the alphabet, whatever works for you. Awesome. And any amount more that you can pull that leg towards your belly if it feels comfortable, if you feel like you just need like a little bit more of a stretch. And then gently releasing the right foot to the ground, the left foot to the ground, hanging out here for a moment. And we're going to head into our final resting pose. Okay, so here's where I give you, a minute, 2 minutes, whatever I kind of, see on the screen that you need to get into that place. So, final resting pose, I do like Shavasana where you're lying flat down on the ground. If today you feel like you need to put, a pillow under your knees, you can do that. Legs up the wall is an awesome option, which is basically you're bringing your hips towards the wall and the legs go straight up to the wall. Putting like a pillow or something under your hips is, a good idea, elevating that. You could bend your knees over like an ottoman or a chair or something. So you're still laying on the ground. Your calves are up on a chair. Supta Baddha Konasana is laying back on your back, but in like cobbler pose, the bottoms of your feet together, your knees out to the side. Whatever. If you do that with like the feet together, the knees out to the side, if you're like, this feels kind of good, but I couldn't stay in here long, an option for you would be taking like a pillow or a rolled up towel and put those underneath your hips, your knees, whatever, just giving you tons of other options here. The beauty of laying flat on the ground, of being in full Shavasana, is that it gives you this moment that we just rarely ever take. Yes, we lay like on a bed probably, or maybe there's a moment you lay on the ground. We're just imagining somebody like, oh my goodness, I'm so tired, and just like laying flat on the ground. But anyway, we rarely do that, right? So it gives your whole body this opportunity to be totally flat on the same plane, and things kind of come to balance in that way. And I won't be talking through all of Shavasana, I promise. But just getting you to this place, my hope is that you allow any thoughts that might come in that aren't just thoughts about your breath and thoughts about letting go. Any thoughts that come in, imagine them as little bees just kind of buzzing around your head. And you're like, oh, thanks. I appreciate what you want to tell me, but not right now. And imagine a door or a window that's close by, and whoosh, the bees fly out that door or the window. And you're like, 5 minutes, 5 minutes, bees, I will talk to them, but not right now. Because your goal is to take this moment to integrate everything that you just worked on. It mimics sleep, right? And during sleep is when we our organs rejuvenate and heal and kind of recreate themselves. We need sleep, we need those long hours. So we need this moment in this yoga class to integrate and bring everything to balance, to centeredness. Feeling this sense of alignment. And just by aligning your spine and aligning your breath to movements, find that little bit of clarity of aligning yourself and your soul purpose in the moment, in the day, in the greater scheme of your life. So by letting go and not having any thoughts and just being in this alignment, it's taking you there effortlessly with ease, knowing that you are exactly where you're supposed to be right now. Just finding your breath, being okay with the silence, knowing it is peace. Gently bringing your awareness back to your breath if it has strayed away. And allowing your breath to gently move in through the nose and just watch it moving down through the throat, the lungs, the belly, and back out. Luxuriating in this time that you get to just focus on the inhale, 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 letting it all go. Exhale, exhale, exhale. Inhale, 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 open and expand. Exhale, 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 letting it go. And again, inhale, 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 and release by exhale, exhale, exhale. Gently bringing your arms up by your ears and allowing yourself to feel the length in your stretch from your fingertips down through your toes. Feeling expansive and expanded and open. And on the exhale, trying to bring your knees towards your chest as your arms come as well and wrap your arms around your knees. Allow yourself to gently rock side to side. Allow yourself to roll onto one side like you're curled up in bed. Taking this moment to once again let go of anything you don't want to hold on to. You don't have to name it or think about it, just anything that doesn't serve you, that creates blockages or challenges to having an easeful, joyful, heart opening day. And just imagine that whatever it is, it could just be a color going down into the ground, giving it away, and all the little beasties under the ground are taking it apart and rearranging it and turning it into something else and just becomes soil, little hydrogen and some carbon and nitrogen, and that's all it was. Just needed to be broken up. And now, when you're ready with an inhale, finding a graceful way to coming back to whatever a final seated position looks like for you. Inhale, swooping the arms out and swooping them up, hands to heart center. Diving in here to your heart for a moment, listening to it, knowing that you can honor your heart throughout the day. Just as you honored yourself during this practice, that you honored yourself coming to this practice and taking an hour out of your day, out of your morning, to just be here with yourself, strengthening, toning, honing in on that which you need and letting go of all the rest. And thank you all for allowing me to guide you through this session this morning. May it lead to just an absolutely wonderful day for you. Namaste.